Hey, how you doing out there? This is Bob on Bob's Blues and the News, coming to you directly from Atlanta, Georgia. This is a little off the cuff, just giving you my 3 cents of what's going on in the world and everything else. So I don't know. I'm having a dilemma here. Maybe you can help me out. I don't know whether I should focus on the politics with this podcast or should I focus on the music. I mean, it's basically a news podcast, right? So I do bring in the news, and I'll tell you what I think about it. But I do music too, so I want to get focused more on the music. But even on this podcast, I can't bring in a lot of music because, like, I put this podcast on Spotify, and Spotify doesn't like you to put podcasts on their platform if it's got music on it. You know, so it's just tracks from their other stuff they're doing on there. So I'm not going to play that much music on this podcast, and I will talk mainly about the news, but I want, because I have this in my head, you know, because I'm trying to do something musically. Basically, I'll tell you what I'm trying to do. I am trying to make another album, okay, and to release it song by song. You know, I'll put out a song every month, maybe starting next month. The song I want to do to start off with, maybe I'll play that song for you right here, is My Only Only. See what you think about this tune. I can't play it too long because, you know, the powers that be will get a bit angry.
Love song. My only, only is you. Only my only, only will do. You're my only, only is true.
Yeah, just give me a little taste. So anyway, I'll finish that up and release it. And then I like that song I just came in with at the beginning, to Build Paradise. I mean, that's got to be mixed and mastered and finished. But yeah, that song will be on the album too. So basically, a lot of these songs I'm playing on my podcast will be on this album. Now, I'm looking for a good title. If you don't like the title, let me know. But I think I'm going to title it For Heaven's Sake, because, you know, we all have a purpose in life. And so I like to think I'm doing it for the sake of a higher force, you know, to help bring the sacred into the profane, you know, sort of a spiritual quest I'm on. But then I had this fascination with news as well, you know, because I studied history. So if you study history once, it's both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing that because you know what's going on in the world. It was a curse because you're infatuated with it and you get too absorbed in it. I should be spending more time focusing on my business, which I have. I have a finance business as well. I'm telling you a little bit about my life, so hey, that's cool. But I'll have this passion for music, which I've been working on. And you can check me out on Bob Jeter, Spotify, and all those streaming sites, as well as I have a band that I put together sometimes called Jeter and the Jets. So I have songs with that brand as well. But I'm more focusing on about the Bob Jeter brand, because I do have a great EP out called Along for the Ride. You can check it out. I had a great producer, Kenny Kirby, who helped me with that, and some great tunes. So I just want to come up with another album, because I'm way overdue, because that was, over 5 years ago. I'm due for another album. So this one I'm producing more or less myself. I'm using a service called Musadversal, and they have some great musicians. A lot of them are from Brazil or from, I think it's a Portuguese company. So they actually have some guys from Portugal, but all over the world. And you have all kinds of musicians and sound engineers, whatever you have. You know, it's like almost like a record company. They have these very talented people, so you can use them to cut your tunes online. And then I have a friend who helps me mix and masters them. So that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years, actually. So now I'm at the stage where I've got all these songs together, more or less finished, and now I'm going to start releasing them. So like I said, next month I will release the song, My Only Only. But, you know, just telling you what's going on in my musical endeavors. But then you have the world blowing up all around you, or, you know, all these things happening in the world, and they're not too pretty right now, even though Trump is doing the best he can. As most of you know, I am a Trump supporter. I don't agree with everything he does, but he's a lot better off than all these leftists and communists and jihadists on the left. And even you have a lot of extreme right people, you know. I'm Jewish, so, you know, I see a lot of anti-Semitism everywhere. So this affects me, you know, psychologically affects me, and it should affect you, because when there's so much hate and corruption in the world, you know, I think we need to speak up about it. And I speak up a lot about it. You know, people say, every years ago, more politics. You know, just shut up and sing. And maybe I should do that. Maybe I just should shut up and sing, you know. Anyway, tell me what I should do. I don't. But I have this passion for music, so I'll continue with music. And I'll continue following the news. And I'll continue doing this podcast for what it's worth, Blues in the News. Because I think you can't just put your head in the sand, live in a bubble, and think it's going to all go away. Because it's only going to get worse. It's only before it gets better. Unfortunately, it's crazy how much anti-Semitism there is out there. You know, it's like the whole world is against Israel. But in a way, that's a good sign, because if you read the Bible, the Old Testament, you'll see the prophets who often will mention that during the days before the redemption, everybody would be in arms against Jerusalem, against Israel, and that Israel will be surrounded by its enemies. Well, lo and behold, here we are. So the prophecies are coming true, right? So in a way, that's fantastic. We're living in a special time where people will find out eventually who is the absolute. Of course, the absolute is God. And in my way of understanding, it's the Hebrew God, the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And you can believe in other religions. You can be a Muslim. You can be a Christian, whatever. But I was a Christian. I converted because I saw more truth, more commentaries, more philosophical discussions, more intelligent what can I say? More intelligent contemplation on the divine. Christianity, where it was, I mean, it sounded good. You know, you had this one guy, Jesus, who saved you from your sins, and as long as you believed in Jesus, you're okay. You're going to heaven. And of course, you had to do certain things. You know, the Ten Commandments, I guess, which came from the Old Testament, by the way. But you know, but basically, as long as you believe in Jesus, you're okay. Judaism is the opposite. It's more than just believing. You have to do. You have to act. You have to live the life. You have to keep the Shabbos. You have to eat kosher, stuff like that. And it takes a lot, you know. It's not an easy way, but you can understand if there is a supreme force, and that's created everything, and that's everywhere, and it's all encompassing. You don't think it might not be a little demanding? I mean, it's not going to be all, roses and puppy dogs and, all that fluffy stuff. And it's real, you know what I mean? And then you get into the commentaries, you get into the Gemara, the Oral Torah, you get into the prophets, like I say, and of course the 5 books of the Bible and the prophets and the sacred writings. And you look at all this that's come out of the Jewish religion, and you see the richness of the religion, how so rich it is in biblical teachings about the divine, about the way you should act, the way you should be. And of course, you have people like St. Augustine in the Christian church, who was very philosophical, and a lot of people hold him up as one of the major lights in Christianity. But you have to realize it's very anti-Semitic. Very anti-Semitic. And a lot of these church fathers were, because they felt like the Jews had lost their covenant with God because they didn't accept Jesus. And so it sort of blew them away. It blew the church away. I mean, philosophically I'm talking about it. When the Jews went back to Israel, because, how could they come back and actually get their land back? They betrayed Jesus. How could God allow them to come back? And now Israel is one of the most powerful countries on the planet, really. I mean, economically, actually it's doing better than the United States in spite of all the wars. I think its GDP is maybe 5% this year. Well, in the U.S., maybe it's 4%. I mean, it's gone up in the U.S. as well with Trump a little bit. But I think Israel is ahead of the United States as far as those numbers go, those economic numbers go. The stock market is booming. I know I have a friend who's working in Israel, and he's working for an American company, so he's getting paid in dollars. And he says his salary is shrinking because the shekel is so much more valuable than the dollar. So you can see how Israel has what's the word, has come to be the truth that the prophets were talking about. That's, that the prophecies have come true. That's what I'm trying to say. That those things the prophets said before about Israel going back to its land and being very profitable and prosperous and growing, to be strong. In this final way back to their ancestral land, all that's come true. So these prophecies have come true, and it should be obvious, but there's so much confusing in the world, so much hate in the world. People don't see it. Many people don't see it. And that's why they say in the prophets that when the Mashiach comes, the entity, and it's not going to be a divine entity like Jesus, but it's going to be just a very wise individual who is going to bring the light into the world, and that everybody will know that the divine, the absolute, the God of the Hebrews is the God of all people. And that's why the Jews believe everyone is made in the image of God. And that's why they don't want destruction or death to anyone. But they have to defend themselves, of course. So I hope I made sense with all that. Anyway, I said enough. This is, hey, tomorrow's my birthday as well. How about that? I'm not going to tell you how old I am. I forget about it. Old enough to know better, right? But anyway, I hope you have a good weekend, great weekend. The day is TGIF Day, and we'll see you next time. It's Bob on Bob's Blues and the news, and we're still trying to build paradise, people.